Hi there, this is Art and Such, and today I have for you a Rainbow Loom tutorial for the Terminator. I'll give you a couple of options as we go along, but to start off, I would say get on hand some black bands, skin tone, silver or gray optional for the side of the face, darker brown for the hair, and for the eyes you can do sunglasses. I'll tell you about a couple of ways you can do that. Or if you're so inclined, you can have one red eye and one maybe green or brown eye on the other side. Otherwise, you're going to need a C-clip, a hook, a holding hook if you like, and your loom in the offset configuration. And we're going to jump right into it. I have decided to make the arms a little bit shorter than what you see here. So it's going to be 2 shorter. And if you feel it's too short, just add an extra 2 to the chain. But what I'm going to do here, and you can follow along, is start with 2 bands for the hand. This is black because it's his glove, and I'm going to wrap it on my hook once and twice. You can do it 3 times if you want it a little tighter. Pull that onto 2 black bands. And replace the other side. Take a single black band, stretch it, twist it, and double it over, and place it through. And now I'm going to put this onto 5 sets of double bands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now in my original, this is actually my 3rd attempt, my 3rd version, I added 2 more sets that had 3 each, and that will make it a little bit thicker, but I felt it's it's a bit too long for my liking. So if you're happy with those 5 sets of doubles, you can leave it there and just maybe add 1 more set to make it like that's going to go into the shoulder there. So all together here then I have 2 bands placed onto 2 bands on a doubled over single, and then 6 sets of double or 2 black bands. And we'll do this again for the other arm. A little bit faster this time. 2 wrapped 2 or 3 times, pulled onto 2 bands, onto a doubled over single, and then you can do 5 or 6 sets. I'm going to do 6 sets here, so that the last one will be the set that attaches onto the body. And if you wanted it a little bit longer, you could always add those 1 or 2 extra sets. 5. And I believe this is the last one here. Now if you're comfortable leaving these here, you can just push it down the hook. If you want more space to work with, you can put these onto a holding hook or on the side. And we're going to make the legs next. We take 2 bands, wrap it on the hook 1, 2, 3 times, put that onto 2 more bands, and replace. Take a single, wrap it on the end of the hook 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, and then you're going to take that first piece and bring the side band over so that this sits in the middle. So slide it over and squish that in between, and put 2 more bands on. Bring everything over onto there. And again, we're going to take a single band, just untangle these here, wrap it on the end 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, bring it into the middle, and now this is going to go onto a doubled over single. Slide it all on, and we need 7 sets of double bands, or 2 bands together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can push that out of the way and start on the next leg. 1, 2, 3 wraps with those double bands. Slide it onto 2, and I'm going to do a kind of a shortcut cheat here. So this time, instead of replacing, I'm just going to slide it down a little bit. Wrap that single on direct. 1, 2, 3, and then put this back on, and that will have the same effect as what we did for the first leg. It'll still put that wrapped one in the middle. Again, I'm going to slide it through, and I'm doing my shortcut again. Before replacing it, I'll wrap that single. 1, 2, 3. If you find one method's easier or makes more sense to you than the other, then go with that. Doubled over single, slide it through all. And then we've got our 7 sets of double bands, or 2 at a time each time. 1, 2, 7. Just gonna lay these out so I can do this without having to concentrate too much on the counting. I've got, I'm at the point where my fingernails are just long enough to get in the way of things. And they're great for undoing knots and whatever else one uses fingernails for, but yeah, it's starting to get a little bit harder to type and loom and so forth, so I think it's almost time for a nail trim. Okay, there we have our arms and our legs, and we're going to head over to the loom here. And all of the head and torso are going to go on together to start. So get the color that you want for your hair. Take 2 bands, top center to the top right, and 2 from the top center to the top left, or the side closest to you. Come down on each of your rows with 2 bands in that hair color. And this is the thickness I've got here. If you wanted to have more hair, you can do 2 sets of rows, but then you are gonna be a little bit short of room for the body on the loom later. So just bear in mind, if you do decide to make the hair go a little bit longer, you will run out of space in the body, but probably don't have a problem there. Okay, let's go to the middle row, and starting at the second peg down, we're going to do 4 sets of double skin tone bands. So take 2 together, place them down, and repeat 3 more times. On the left, on the left we're going to do 3 sets, same thing but only 3 times. 2 and 3. And then on the right side, you can do silver, gray, or skin tone. That's entirely up to you. I'm gonna go with silver again. And 3 sets of double bands, starting at the first, or at the second peg from the top. Okay, take 2 silver, or whatever you've got on the right, and bring it from the 5th side to the 6th center. And on the opposite side, we're going to take 2 skin tone bands, 5th side to the 5th center. And let's start laying out the body. Okay, so I'll show you first. If you want to have these little shoulder pieces, like the little collar, I'll show you how to do that. It's totally optional, you don't have to have it, but if you would like to have those on either side, take a single, wrap it 3 or 4 times, put it onto a doubled over single, and then onto another doubled over single, and then onto 2 black bands. Now if you are leaving this part out, you're just going to take 2 black bands, and those 2 black bands are going to go from the center 6 to the side 6. So you can put the collar piece on there, or you can leave it off and just put those 2 across. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. Single wrapped 1, 2, 3. Hold on to a doubled over single, onto a doubled over single, and then onto 2 black bands. I was actually thinking another way that you could, and this goes to the opposite side here, another way that you could create the coat or collar effect would be to stitch a separate piece, like do a couple rows down, not loom it up and then take it off, and then when you're done you could place that on over and sort of stitch that on. I wanted to keep the look kind of clean here, so and keep this simple for you as well. So this is what I did for the collar. And at this point you can take sets of 2 black bands, double black bands, and place them down the loom all the way to the bottom on each of the 3 rows. Let me get some down and then I will show you what that looks like. And we're going straight to the bottom. I think this is going to be about 8 sets when we're done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets. Should be 7 sets on each of the rows then, I believe. Almost there. Okay, so we're continuing down, we're laying them out all the way to the bottom. And once you're here, you're going to take 2 black bands, grab your hook, and transfer the leg pieces off of your hook onto those 2 bands. Oops. So slide them both on and stretch that across the bottommost pegs on either side. You want to separate the legs a little bit and bring the bands holding them over the center peg like so. And we're going to take single blacks and make little triangle holding bands. So stretch it across the 3 or the pegs above the bottom, the second pegs from the bottom, and again the pegs above that. You don't need to double these over, we want them nice and loose here. If you want it to be a little extra sturdy or a little extra thick, you could do 2 at a time, but the one seems to do the trick just fine, and we don't want to make it so thick that the legs look really skinny in comparison. Once you have those triangles on, you can take your arms and transfer them from your hook carefully onto the 6 pegs down, the pegs that have those collar pieces. So 1 on the left, 1 on the right, okay. For the face, I'm using single holding bands, so 1 at a time. Now I use brown for the one on the second pegs, but you will see a little bit of brown will come through like a little eyebrow. So if you are concerned about that or you don't want that, you can stick with skin tone, or you can use the hair color, maybe if you are trying to preserve your skin tone bands. But either way, you want to put a single holding band across the second pegs down and repeat that for the next 3 sets below. And we are not doubling this over because that's what I tried before and it made the face way too tight. Okay, a couple of options on the eyes or sunglasses. So the first option would be to take a red band and maybe a green band or a brown band, depending on the color you want. And you could use beads as beads alternately, or white beads and draw the people on. If you are doing the red eye, then you want to get one of your bands or beads onto the hook and onto a single skin tone. So I've just wrapped each of these on the hook and then slid them over a single skin tone. You could also do this by transferring colored beads on, and then this would go across the third pegs from the top. And you would want to, at that point, separate, just quickly show you here, separate the band so that it's like hooked onto that third peg down, and these would go over the sides. Option 2, which is what I did and what I'm gonna do again, would be the simple sunglasses, we'll call it. For that, you take a single black, wrap it 1, 2, 3, and repeat, and bring it onto a black band. So this is the same method as what you just saw before. The difference for this would be that we're just gonna lay it across, and we're not gonna bring the black band over. And a third option would be to leave the sunglasses off and then create something like this and weave it in afterwards, and that way you would see it more to the side of the face potentially rather than going back through the face. And one more option would be to do the sunglasses the way you see me doing it now on the loom, but then afterwards you could also go through, bring the band around and catch it on the other side so that you have something like this. So if you want the sunglasses to extend past the skin tone there, you could take a black band, pull it through from the back and pull it through around. So that's something else you could play with. Or an even further option would be something like taking some black wire or cardboard or a sticker, something, and adding it in after the fact. Maybe even have like little sunglasses pins. So this is what we have, and we are ready to loop up. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the loom, and on either side we're going to be trying to reach and loop up the bottommost sets of double pegs at double bands. So on the bottom peg on the side, push back the bands holding the legs, get the bottom two, carefully bring it around and forward onto the peg above. Make sure you get both of them. Push back that holding band, get the next two, bring it forward, push back, grab the two, bring them forward, and we'll do this until we reach the arms. Okay, so if you did not do the collar, if you don't have this piece, you're just gonna reach in, push back, get the bottom two, and bring them to that middle peg. If you do have the collar, what I would encourage you to try is bring out or loop through those bands. You can put it on a C-clip or something if you want to. And then while you're holding it, come through. I don't know how well you can see this. Let me get my hook through and then I'll try and re-angle this a little bit. Okay, so what I'm doing, oh, lost it, is I'm gonna come from the angle or the direction of the neck through that collar piece, and then I'm gonna get the two bands and bring them back through. Sorry, I'm really not sure how to show this much better. Okay, so it went under and back through. I have to put this down. We can, just so we don't lose it. Okay. This actually just came off, but so the band that had the collar piece, I pulled it out from inside that peg, and I slid through the collar piece and pulled it through and back on. And I'll try to show you again a little bit better on the other side. I'm coming back to the bottom on the far side, or on the right side you could call it, and I'm gonna loop up those bands up to the arm. Maybe we'll do a little bit better showing the angle on the side. Hopefully, I'm hoping you know what mean when I'm talking about pulling it through here, but if you're struggling, you can take off the collars, you can leave out that part, you can find another strategy that works for you if you want. So let me turn my loom around. So this is the top, this is the bottom of the loom, and I've got my collar piece. I'll try and show this again. So I'm going to go through the collar piece with my hook, and then I'm going to be getting the pegs from in here. This is actually more awkward. Let me get them first. Okay, so I've pulled out the two bands that came diagonally from the center. I'm going to hold those for a minute. I'm going to reach the hook through the collar piece, and again, if you're really struggling, you can just bring it straight over or do this a different way. This was a lot easier, my practice run, or my, my first time through here. Okay, and once I have my hook through, then I'm going to put this on the end and slide it under the collar and back onto that peg. All right, one of the hardest parts there is done. We're going to go back to the bottom middle, grab the bands from between the legs and bring them forward, and continue to loop up until you get to the neck piece where the skin tone is. I think that's the 6th from the top, in the middle. So this is going to end where you just put those black bands. Now this next part is a little bit challenging. The thing you want to be really careful of is don't let the black bands come off of this peg. So you might even want to put your finger on that center peg. And okay, it looks like I'm seeing my pink ones are the highest of the face bands under the black. So very carefully, you can use your finger or your hook to pull those up to the side if you want a better view. I'm going to push back the black bands, get a hold of those pink bands, and bring them over to the left side. And reach in again for the two silver or gray, or they might be skin tone in your case, depending on what you chose to do here. Come around and bring those over. It's one. I'm not seeing the other one, so I'm going to give these a little tug from the bottom until they sort of shake loose here. You can see them a bit better. There's one. There we are. And go back in one more time for the bottom two skin tone. Really take your time. Make sure you've got those nice little loops here. And if your loom is getting a little bit tight like mine is, you can release some of the lower pieces now. And that'll make removing the whole piece easier later. It'll also ease things up when you're looping the next part. And if you don't feel the need to do this now, that's okay. You can jump ahead and meet me in a second. We'll finish looping the face up. This is also, it's not a bad thing to do sometimes if you just want to make sure you've got everything and you don't want to finish everything and then worry about a piece being loose, but I think we should be good here. Okay, we're going to loop up the side, and I'm looking for the bottom two bands each time around. So I'll push back with my hook through all of these upper bands and just take the bottom two, bring it forward onto the peg above, push back the holding band and go forward, push back and go forward, and one more time to the top. Then you can reach in for the two bands coming diagonally and bring those to the middle. On the opposite side, flip your loom around if you need to, and we're going to loop up those silvers, grays, or skin tone depending on which color you used. Bring that right to the top, and always push back your holding bands, your triangle bands, and come into the middle. We're almost done here. Now, if you go to the 5th peg down, that's where we left off after looping up from the neck piece. Loop up once, and then you want to, if you had sunglasses, if you have eyes, just loop forward. If you had the sunglasses as I do, I want that black line to show, so I'm going to pull that under the fourth peg, reach below it or through it, and get that skin tone, and that way this black line will still sit above. If you don't have sunglasses, then you can, and you're just doing the eyes, then you can just loop straight over. And we're going to go to the top, have a quick look and see that all of your pieces look to be secure. And if you're feeling good about it, you can push your hook through the bands on the top center peg, grab another band of your hair color, slide it through, put the other end on, and pull one side over the other to create a slip knot. You can put this on a C-clip, a hook, or your finger, and we'll take the head, face, and whatever else remains off of this loom here. Now I'm happy to report there isn't a lot of adjusting or fixing that, or even positioning that needs doing on this project. It's pretty straightforward once it's looped up. What we do want to do though is kind of separate the eyes a little bit, turn to the back and secure your holding band. So slide under a couple of bands and pull it through. You can put that onto a C-clip if you like. If you have any other loose bands, you can secure them at this point by pulling them a little tighter. Putting it on a C-clip, you can put it under another band as well, like the C-clip through another band or your loose band through another band. Just trying to get hold of this. There we are. Back to the front. Like I said, if you wanted your sunglasses to kind of come around, you can stick your hook through, put a black band on. I'll show you this again really quickly now that you've got a bit of a context. Slide a black band back through, grab the other side, and hook one end over the other, and then you'll get sunglasses with like, I'm so fuzzy today. What do you call the stem, the piece that goes behind the ear? Just an earpiece? Well, regardless, that's an option. If you want to do that, you could do that on either side. If you want to add on more of like a coat piece and do another like stitch and then add on another layer there, that's an option. I feel like that's pretty well all there is to it. I think your Terminator, your Schwarzenegger, he's all ready now. So let me hold him up for you on the camera. And yeah, let me know how it goes and if there's anything else you'd like to see. All right, thank you for watching.